Have you ever heard of the man who sold the Eiffel Tower? Not once, but twice. This isn't a joke. It's the true story of Victor Lustig, the world's most audacious con man. Lustig wasn't your average thief. He was a master of disguise, a polyglot who spoke 5 languages fluently, and operated under at least 22 different aliases. His most famous persona was Count Victor Lustig, a character of European nobility he crafted with such perfection that it fooled even the most skeptical. Lustig was so skilled at his craft that he literally wrote the book on it, creating a list he called the 10 Commandments of the Con. And what was his #1 rule? It wasn't about fast talking or flashy tricks. It was, be a patient listener. He understood that the key to a successful con wasn't about what you said, but about what your victim wanted to hear. Long before he set his sights on Paris's most famous landmark, Lustig was already making a fortune with a clever little device known as the Romanian box. He would gather a crowd and present a handsome, polished box, claiming it was a marvel of modern science. Inside, he explained, a special radium process could duplicate any currency. To demonstrate, he'd insert a genuine $100 bill. Then, with great ceremony, he would turn a small crank. 6 hours later, a second identical $100 bill would emerge. The trick was brilliant in its simplicity. The box was just a box, with a preloaded bill that was slowly pushed out by a mechanical crank. Lustig would sell these money-printing machines for thousands of dollars. By the time his eager customers realized the box would only ever produce that one extra bill, Lustig was long gone, probably enjoying a fine meal several countries away. This was the prelude, the warm-up act for his greatest performance ever. The year is 1925, the stage is Paris, and the target is the Eiffel Tower itself. Lustig didn't just wake up one day and decide to sell a national monument. His plan was rooted in careful research. He'd read a newspaper article detailing the massive costs of maintaining the tower, over £1 million francs a year just for paint and upkeep. More importantly, public opinion was low. Many Parisians still saw it as a temporary eyesore from the 1889 World's Fair. Lustig saw his opportunity. He forged official-looking government stationery and sent out invitations to the top 6 scrap metal dealers in the city. The letter was vague but urgent, summoning them to a secret meeting at the prestigious Hotel de Crillon to discuss a matter of national importance. The bait was set. Inside a lavish hotel suite, Lustig, posing as a high-ranking government official, laid out his story. He explained that the city could no longer afford the Eiffel Tower's maintenance, and had made the difficult decision to have it dismantled and sold for scrap. The deal, he stressed, had to remain top secret to avoid public outcry. As he spoke, he wasn't just pitching a deal, he was studying his audience. He wasn't looking for the smartest man in the room, or the richest. He was looking for the most insecure, the one with something to prove. He found his man André Poisson. Poisson was a newcomer to the Parisian business elite. He was wealthy, but he lacked the social standing he desperately craved. Lustig sensed this immediately. To Poisson, buying the Eiffel Tower wasn't just a business transaction. It was his ticket into the exclusive inner circle of Parisian society. It was the ultimate status symbol, but Poisson was still cautious. He hesitated, and this is where Lustig performed a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Instead of pushing harder, Lustig pivoted. He confided in Poisson's, acting nervous and ashamed. He confessed that as a simple civil servant, his salary wasn't enough to support the lavish lifestyle his position demanded. He wasn't explicitly asking for a bribe, but the implication was crystal clear. This was the genius of the move. Lustig knew that in the cynical world of high-stakes business, an honest politician might seem suspicious, but a corrupt one felt familiar. To Poisson, the request for a bribe wasn't a red flag. It was confirmation that the deal was real. A shady government official taking a cut? That made perfect sense. Poisson paid the bribe, and then paid for the Eiffel Tower. Lustig walked away with a suitcase full of cash, around 70,000 francs, which is roughly $1.2 million in today's money. He immediately boarded a train to Austria and began a new routine. Every morning, he would scan the French newspapers, waiting for the headline that would expose his incredible scam. But the days turned into weeks, and there was nothing. Total silence. Why? Because André Poisson was so utterly humiliated by his own gullibility that he could unbear to go to the police. He was too ashamed to admit he'd been tricked into buying the Eiffel Tower. Realizing his mark would never talk, what did Lustig do? He went back to Paris a month later and sold the Eiffel Tower all over again to a different group of scrap dealers. Eventually, Lustig's incredible luck had to run out, and it happened in America. He moved on from scrap metal to the even more lucrative business of counterfeiting. He was so good that the Secret Service dubbed his high-quality fake bills Lustig money, which were flooding the U.S. economy at a rate of $100,000 a month. He was even bold enough to con the most feared gangster in America, Al Capone. Lustig approached Capone and convinced him to invest $50,000 in a supposed stock market scheme. But Lustig had no scheme. He simply put Capone's money in a safe deposit box and left it there for 2 months. Then, he returned to Capone with a long face, explaining that the deal had fallen through. Ultimately, it wasn't a savvy detective or a vengeful victim who brought him down. It was his own mistress, Billy May, who, in a fit of jealousy over an affair, anonymously tipped off the federal agents who had been hunting him for years. Lustig was arrested, but his story doesn't end there. In a final act of showmanship, he escaped from a federal prison in Manhattan by fashioning a rope from bedsheets, just like in the movies. But his freedom was short-lived. He was recaptured a month later and sent to the most notorious prison of them all, Alcatraz. Victor Lustig died in 1947 from pneumonia, and in a final, fitting tribute to a life spent in illusion, his official death certificate listed his occupation not as con man or counterfeiter, but as apprentice salesman. Even in death, the Count had the last laugh. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story of the world's greatest con artist, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more incredible true stories.